Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Parr, and on this episode of Math Up to Par, we are going to be adding and subtracting decimals. So when you are adding and subtracting decimals, you will want to make sure to line up the decimal points when you're stacking them up to add or subtract. Then you're just going to add and subtract like you would with whole numbers. So if you know strategies to add and subtract whole numbers, then the only difference with adding up decimals is just making sure you have your decimal points lined up so that the place values match up. So the first one we need to do to practice is to find the sum of 56 and 7/10 and 9 and 45/10, 9 and 45 hundredths. So we have sum, which means I'm going to add, and we have two numbers. Now they both have 3 digits, but I want to show you something. If I line these up with the same number of digits, my place values do not match up because this is the tenths place, but this is the hundredths place. And this is the ones place, this is the tenths place, this is the tens place, this is the ones place. So if I do it this way, I'm not going to get the correct answer because I'm not going to be adding the same values because the place value they're in determines their worth. So it will not work to add them this way. So instead, when I stack them up, I'm going to make sure that my decimal point goes directly underneath the decimal point above. I should be able to connect them like this. So I'm going to then fill in my number. So I have 9 and 45 hundredths. Well, this one up here doesn't have anything in the hundredths place. So to fill it in, I'm going to put a 0 as a placeholder there because that doesn't change the value of my number because 70 hundredths is equal to 7/10. So I can put that there and it won't change the value. So we are finding the sum. So I'm going to go ahead and put a plus sign right here. So now I'm going to go ahead and add these two numbers up just like I would with whole numbers. I'm going to work from right to left. So I have 0 plus 5 is 5. 7 plus 4, which is 11. So I put my 1 in my ones place down here, and I carry my 1 in my tens place up here because I'm regrouping. Then I have 9 plus 6 plus 1. Well, if I put the 9 and the 1 together, I get 10, plus 6 more, I get 16. Put the 6 in the ones place at the bottom and carry the 1 from the tens place, and I have 5 plus 1 is 6. So then I'm going to continue where my decimal point is, and I'm going to continue it down. So I should be able to connect the dots on my decimal point straight down. So that means the sum of 56 and 7/10 and 9 and 45 hundredths is 66 and 15 hundredths. Let's try it for some more. So now we're going to find the difference of 724 and 314 thousandths and 289 and 7/10. So once again, I'm going to line these up and I'm going to make sure that when I do that, then I'm lining them up with their decimal point so that the place values match up. Let me try that again. So usually when I do that, I go ahead and I write my decimal point directly underneath, and then I fill in my numbers where they go. So I notice I only have something in the tenths place after, and then I have something in the ones, tens, and hundreds place. And I'm finding the difference, so that means I'm going to subtract. So I'm also going to, I don't have anything in my hundredths or thousandths place here, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in some zeros. So now I'm going to subtract. So I have 4, I'm going to subtract just like I would a whole number, and I'm going to go from right to left. So I have 4 minus 0 is 4, 1 minus 0 is 1, 3 minus 7 I cannot do, so I need to regroup. So I take from the 4, that becomes 3, and I give over here, and that becomes 13. If you haven't yet, you should watch my video on subtracting whole numbers. I go into more of the why we regroup and why that works. So we have 13 minus 7 here. So when I count from 7 up to 13, That gives me 6, so that's the difference between 13 and 7. Over here, I have 3 and 9. I can't do 3 take away 9, so I cross out my 2. I make it a 1, and I make this a 13. I have 13 minus 9. When I count from 9 up to 13, I get 4, so that's the difference between them. Can't do 1 minus 8, so once again, I'm going to need to regroup. This becomes a 6. This becomes an 11. Get a little bit clearer. So then I have 11 minus 8 is 3, and I have 6 minus 2 is 4. And I'm going to make sure that when I write my decimal point, that it comes straight down in line with the other numbers. So that makes my answer 434 and 614 thousandths. So that's the difference between these two numbers. Over here, it's asking me to find the sum, which tells me I'm adding, but this time it gives me 3 numbers, okay? So I can do a couple different strategies. I can add 2 of them together, get the answer, and then add that answer to my third number. Or I can stack all 3 of them up, making sure to line up my decimal points so that they have matching place values, and then get my answer that way. That's the strategy I'm going to show you right here. So I'm going to add all 3 of these numbers. So really making sure that I'm writing neatly and stacking them up is very, very important. I'm going to go ahead and write my decimals so that I can make sure I fit them all in the right place. I put my 2 here, and then I have 985 thousandths. Here I have 413. So when I have so many different numbers going different ways, it almost looks like stair steps. I'm going to go ahead and fill in zeros, not only after the number, but I'm going to fill in the zeros before the numbers just so I can make sure I keep everything neat. That way for each of these, I have 3 digits before my decimal point and then 3 digits after my decimal point. If you have grid paper can be really helpful to line up your numbers this way to make sure they each fit in a box. Or you can take notebook paper, and instead of turning it how you would normally write with the lines horizontal, you take it and you flip it over so that the lines are vertical, and it gives you nice, neat columns to write your numbers in. So let's go ahead and add. So this time we're adding 3 digits at a time. We have 0 plus 5 plus 0, which is 5. We have 9 plus 8 plus 0, which is 17. I'm carrying it over, and just like with the subtraction video, you can watch my addition video on whole numbers to better understand why regrouping works. Here we have 1 plus 6 plus 9 plus 3. Whenever I have so many of these numbers, I see if there's a way for me to make 10. I can make 10 by saying 1 plus 9, so that's a 10 right there. And then I have 6 plus 3 is 9, so I have 10 plus 9 is 19. I have 1 plus 8 plus 2 plus 3. I can make a 10 by saying 8 plus 2, so that's 10 right there. Plus 3 is 13, 1 more is 14. Then I have 1 plus 3 plus 0 plus 1. That adds up to 5. And then I have 0 plus 0 plus 4, which is 4. And my decimal point comes straight down so that I can line all of them up. Okay, and that means that my answer to the sum of those 3 numbers is 454 and 975 thousandths. And that is how you add and subtract numbers with decimals. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. Happy practicing. Bye.